Let's get right into it. I'm Sanjana. You're watching The Last Word. 5 times in under a week. That is the number of times the Bidar police has spoken to the students of the Shaheen Primary School in connection with a sedition case registered against the school's management and one parent. Now, unsurprisingly, the vagueness in the text has allowed sedition to be misused, and perhaps this time the police has gone too far. These students are between 9 to 10 years old, viewers. 9 to 10. All of this in the Shaheen School in Bidar in Karnataka. They have been spoken to the police every day. Now, the headmistress and the arrested parent have been in jail. But on the debate tonight, we're going to ask about whether this bizarre move of the police has gone too far. On the debate tonight, the ridiculous move of police slapping charges of sedition against a school in Karnataka's Bidar has outraged the nation. What's even more bizarre is the arrest of a lady staff from the same school and the widow mother of a student. On January 20th, students of class 4, 5 and 6 of the Shaheen International School staged a play on the CAA and the NRC. 5 days later, a social activist lodged a complaint with the Bidar police against the school. The cops then slapped charges of sedition against the school and named 3 people in the FIR.
Yeah, they have invoked 504, 505 and 124A, which is beyond imagination of any reasonable person. The DYSP is also visiting the classroom and they is also asking them to come out of the classroom. Some students, they came out of the classroom and he interrogated them in some corner of the school.
The police action seems to be the result of an allegation that a child insulted the Prime Minister. However, the police are still probing that angle. Meanwhile, politics broke out soon after the incident was reported across the local as well as national media.
हैदराबाद से वो ओसी आके बिदर में झगड़ा लगाता है, हैदराबाद से वो ओसी आके बिदर में उल्टा तिल्टा बात करता है, वो उसके औकात में रहे, वो हमारे बिदर को नहीं आए, उसका हिंदू मुस्लिम झगड़ा लगाता है।
प्रभु जी, बच्चों ने वहाँ नाटक किया था, जो लिखा था वो बच्चों ने नहीं लिखा था, वो टीचर्स ने बना के दिया था, तो ऐसे में बच्चों को क्यों तंग किया जा रहा है?
नहीं, मैं इसके बारे में आपको पता चला है, मैं इंचार्ज मिनिस्टर हूँ, मैं बात करता हूँ, क्या है वो इंक्वायरी करता हूँ। हमारे भारत के प्रधानमंत्री जी को उल्टा देशद्रोही को बोले हैं, जो देशद्रोही है उसको तो कोई बोलेगा ही, जो देशद्रोही करेगा, देश में अंगार लगाएगा, देश को भड़काएगा, अच्छा काम चल रहा है उसको तो कोई बोलेगा ना उसमें।
The Chief Minister of the state meanwhile said he is aware of the issue, while the Home Minister refused to speak and walked away after seeing the cameras.
In Bidar, a parent has been charged on charges of sedition. She has been jailed, and the daughter is now saying that my mother has been jailed. She is a widow. On what charges have the sedition case been filed? How has she been jailed, sir?
I will check up. I don't know.
Sir, it has been almost about 4 to 5 days now, and a sedition case has been filed, sir, against her. The school is understandable, sir, but the parent of a young girl.
The details, we will take appropriate decision.
And sir, yesterday the High Court has said that eviction of those people in Bellandur, that some compensation or some sort of rehabilitation should be given. Will that be looked into, sir? Will the government help them?
Definitely will look at.
Every day and interrogate children of the ages of just 9 years.
See, they are
Police is coming to school. Sir, is it not mental torture? Is it not torture for these children?
This is news to me. I will just inquire into the whole thing.
But sir, it has been about 5 days, sir.
I am not here to cast aspirations on anything of the matter.
Sir, it has been about 5 days and none of the concerned people have taken responsibility.
I don't add anything more.
Sir, it has been about 5 days. Neither the district in charge minister nor the CM nor you are now coming out and saying that an inquiry will be ordered.
No inquiry. I will just look into, get the details. That's all I am saying.
Sir, after almost 5 days of this happening.
I will get the details. I will find out the truth.
The headmistress now for 10 years, the mother of 2, whose husband is a mechanic, had to be briefly hospitalized due to low blood pressure following her arrest. And in the other arrest of a woman, her 9-year-old has broken down when asked where her mother is. Several Supreme Court judgments have clarified that serious charge of sedition can only be invoked when an act leads to public disorder. Mere criticism of the government or use of strong language against its functionaries cannot be construed as sedition. So how is the police slapping charges of sedition against the school and arresting 2 people in the case justified? Isn't this the grave misuse of sedition law by the police? Let's debate. Let me quickly go across now to my panel. Joining us this evening have Vivek Reddy, spokesperson of the BJP, Sudha Ramalingam, advocate in the Madras High Court, T.R. Prasad Gowda, JDS leader, Dr. Vikram Singh, former DGP of Uttar Pradesh, is going to be joining us shortly. Good evening to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening on an extremely pertinent issue that we really need to discuss, we really need to hash out. Vivek Reddy, on what grounds has the sedition charge been slapped on the school management? On what grounds have you continued to hold the headmistress and the parent of this 11-year-old?
Well, first of all, Tanvi, let us be very clear that one cannot use school children to make statements and say that the lawmakers should be hit with slippers. I don't think this is what is permissible in a school. This is outright politicization. This is outrageous. Now coming to the minds behind this. I think whoever is behind this, trying to infuse the minds of the children with hate against the government or hate against the official law machinery, I think they must be brought to book. If it is sedition or not is a question of degree, because sedition has in its content the question of ill will, the question of creating hatred, the question of creating disaffection against the government. Now these are all questions that will have to be investigated. One has to go into the minds of the people who have stage managed this play using the children. And unless we go into the minds of these people, the law will not be able to clearly assume or clearly say who was in the right, who was in the wrong. But always in such cases, I feel that the law must be cautious. The law must take the cautious line. It is better that people who are the minds behind these incidents are brought to book, they are investigated, the degree to which they were out to use this play in order to create sedition is examined thoroughly. That's how we ensure that there is adherence to the rule of law. And if this is not done, people quote the 1962 Supreme Court judgment. Well, you may quote that judgment. That was in that time. The judgments are not frozen in time. Over time, things have evolved. You have technology today. You have social media today. Disaffection can be created through various means. So therefore, it is better that it is investigated. It is better that society is safe by such investigations. And always it is being trumped up that children are being investigated. Well, there have been child witnesses.
Mr. Vivek Reddy, I just need to know, I understand that whatever it needs to be investigated, it needs to be investigated. You need to get into the minds of these people who are using children as political pawns. But are you really going to equate safety and constantly speaking to children who are between the ages of 9 and 10 years old? T.R. Prasad Gowda, is this the way to get to the crux of the situation? Yeah. Where you constantly disrupt classes on a regular basis, go in and speak to students, sometimes in the presence of their parents, sometimes not in the presence of the parents?
The situation here, what happened in Bidar, neither it is not good for the people of the country or nor for the people, for anybody it is not good for the people of our country. Anyway, but I would like to make one statement that if government is not against Muslims living in India, they could have educated in the manner in which how they can the Muslims who are living in India are not need not be worried. There are a lot of methods government could have adopt to educate them. First, number one. Second point here we can see the misuse of democracy by this BJP government. This is an indirect imposition of emergency in the country. Now we all have to worry whether to talk against the government or whether to talk against the Modi ji. If today, if we use the free to speech law, suppose if you speak something, now we are thinking even if we can be booked under sedition laws. That is the kind of fear or threatening is coming from the indirect threatening from the BJP government, which they are giving it. This sedition, if school is booked under sedition law of 124A and 153A, then now I would like to tell the BJP government, you are entitled to file the case against who are all protesting against this CAA, NPR. You are entitled, and you can go ahead and file the case, sedition case, about all who are going to protest, stage the protest against the government. Instead, you could have done that. You could have educated the mass, whether they are Muslims or not only Muslims. Lot of people are, they are with the Muslims. Not only Muslims are affected. Lot of Dalit people are also affected about this law. And if you say you are Muslims in India or Dalits in India are not going to affect by this law, you adopt some methods to educate the mass how people are safe in this country.
Okay, so
That's
then
all I
let me
wanted
ask
to
you
tell
then, okay.
at this point of juncture,
Okay,
madam.
so then, okay, fine. So there is, as you're saying, you say that there is a misuse of the sedition law, and now that is done, what comes after that? Because Sudha Ramalingam, usually one would imagine when there is a primary school involved, when there are children involved, when there is any kind of conversation with minors that is involved, that utmost care is taken. This is a primary school, for crying out loud. You need to be careful when you're talking to children. You need to ensure that the mental, the emotional, and any kind of harassment to them, or any kind of, mental torture to them because of this is done with the most decreased amount. So children below the age of 15, ideally, if I were to draw up what the Maharashtra, police handbook says, that says that children below the age of 15 have to be questioned at their home. Here, the Bidar police are speaking to the children in the school, and
Yes,
not always in the presence. Just a second.
Just a second.
The question is to Sudha Ramalingam. These children are being questioned in their school.
Women, yeah. According to the Criminal Procedure Code, women and children who are to be examined as witnesses should be examined only in their houses. You are absolutely right, in their residence and not outside. One. Secondly, I would like to add and state, investigation is different from arrest. What is the use of, and why should a person be arrested at all? Recently, the Supreme Court has said that powers of arrest should be used very sparingly. Bail and not jail should be the rule. And what is happening to the courts itself and the human rights organizations and all Human Rights Commission, National Human Rights Commission and National Women's Commission, what are they, and also the child rights, what is happening to them? Why can't they take suo motu cognizance of what is happening? For the last 4 days, media is crying hoarse on what's happening to the children and how police is harassing these children, and arresting these women are also not necessary at all. Sedition will first of all not be attracted. Even if attracted, file a case. Why do you want to arrest these people? And why do you want to put these children to repeated questioning? What will happen is the child will actually lose its confidence, and also if in case by any chance the child is responsible for the conviction of the parent, the child will suffer a guilty conscience throughout his lifetime. The child needs a lot of protection, and safeguards will have to be built in such a in a case where the state personifies itself with the Prime Minister. Prime Minister is not the government, Prime Minister is not the state, he is only an official in the state. What is happening? There cannot be any sedition just because you have spoken against the Prime Minister. We are a country where right to speech is a fundamental right. We have these rights of freedom of expression and speech, which is built into our constitution as fundamental in its nature. The state has to protect it. The police has to protect the power to criticize, which is given to the citizens. They seem to be only always transgressing their powers, abusing their powers. They are still in with their colonial mindset. Children are being abused now, and the law is also abused. Kindly, I request that the Supreme Court or the High Court of Karnataka should take this up suo moto and ensure that the children are safe and these women are also let out on bail immediately.
Okay. So Vivek Reddy, if I were to ask you, since you said that all of this is being done to ensure that people feel safe, please can you explain to me how is it that somebody is going to feel safe if young children between the ages of 9 to 10, 11 years old are constantly subjected to speaking with police officers in plain clothes who come to their schools and classrooms every day?
Well, the police is investigating the whole incident. The whole incident has to be gotten to the bottom. The police are trying to understand, perhaps from the children, as to who made them make this play and who taught them this play, because they are going behind the minds of the persons who were involved in creating this play.
But for 6
the
days?
Good question is, the central question is,
For
which
6
I'd like to
days?
ask the panelists.
And 5 times that this conversation is happening?
They have been investigated.
For children who are
It depends
not,
on
the youngest of the children
it
is
depends
9
on
years
what is
old.
revealed in investigation.
And not in the presence
It
of the
depends
parents?
on what is revealed in the investigation. Suppose nothing is revealed, why not? I mean, even a child witness is a witness who can depose before the court. There is no immunity or there is no prohibition. That is the law. So there is nothing wrong there. The issue is that they should not act anyway detrimental to the minds of the children. That is an important line to be drawn. They should not harass the children. They should not exploit the feelings of the children. That is an important yardstick to be remembered by the police. But in order to get to the bottom of this whole story,
can I interrupt?
and to the bottom of the crime,
Shall I
think
interrupt
they have
in this-
every right to investigate,
to
because
this
ultimately in
Vivek
public
Reddy is
interest, Mr.
telling
Prasad Gowda, you can state later,
we should not
ultimately
harass-
in public interest, the issue is whether spreading this disaffection, trying to say that you have to beat them with slippers. These are not things that children will ever state by themselves. They will never state these things. Children of our country are not prone to making such statements. So why were they forced to make such statements? Who was infusing these things into them? Who was poisoning their minds? That is the attempt to create ill will and hatred. And if that is created amongst the children, the next generation, I don't think it is acceptable at all. It is more dangerous to the nation if young children are poisoned with such ideas and concepts. So that is where society has to be aware and be cautious, and police have a role to play to ensure that these things do not spread amongst young minds. And that is what they have been trying to do. There is nothing wrong there. Unfortunately, Prasad Gowda and his party never look at the things in the right manner or in the right perspective. The only thing that they look at is that they must side anywhere where they will get votes. They have they have kept blinders in their eyes. They have kept spectacles in their eyes, colored glasses in their eyes. Only thing for them is, will this give me vote? If it gives me vote, then I will side with them. That's not the point here. The point is, why did this poisoning occur? That's the point.
Madam,
they don't want to go into these issues.
Okay, Mr. Gowda, go ahead.
Yeah, madam. Mr. Vivek Reddy totally mistaken the whole issue. See, Vivek Reddy is explaining very well that we are in a dangerous situation. See, who is provoking these students? It has gone to such level. Not we are talking about that. If foreign countries are telling this kind of situation is happening, students of this small country, small boys, are coming out and staging a dharna in terms of drama and whatever it is, and doing this. It is the duty of the Prime Minister to look into all these things, and what we are doing, what our constitution is, how we are amending the constitution, what is the impact, what is going to happen. These are all the things to be prerequisites should be.
For everything, if you involve the Prime Minister.
Before imposing this kind of laws. That is the duty. No, sir, one second. That is your duty to safeguard our country, and not to, you are only doing the politics only with the emotions of this country. And you are full 5 years.
No, if something happens in Bidar,
full 5 years.
If something happens in Delhi, if something happens in any town in India, first thing is you ask the Prime Minister.
Not to do the politics full 5 years.
Okay, I'm not going to get into the. I'm not going to get into the. Okay, one second, gentlemen, please. No, 1 second. This is really not about. No, 1 second. This is not about garnering votes. These are the lives of young children. Let's come back to the debate, please. Let me quickly say good evening to Dr. Vikram Singh, also joining us. Dr. Vikram Singh, thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Singh, under Section 118 of the Evidence Act, a person has to be competent to understand the questions. They have to be competent to understand the implications and have the ability to provide rational answers so that they are treated as a witness. So if I were to actually take seriously what Mr. Vivek Reddy is saying, or what the government is trying to do, or what the Karnataka police is trying to do, the youngest of these children who are being spoken to by the Bidar police are as old as 9 years. How can we deduct that any of these children are rational or that they understand the implications of these questions?
This, you are quoting Section 118 of the Evidence Act, as also I would say that the basis of any criminal jurisprudence is mens rea, a guilty intent. I, for one, would not like to believe that children in their infancy would be able to understand what sedition and what sedition law is and what they are doing. They worked under the influence of their teachers and the principal. I apportion the blame to the principal and the teachers and nobody else. I would not have even bothered to touch the children or even speak to the children because that is not called for. I would have given an advisory to the teachers, but yes, I would have held the principal responsible for not properly censoring the contents of the play, not actually editing or understanding the long-term ramifications of the play that the children were performing. But the children the police to speak to the children was best avoided and should have been avoided. There have been many instances where children were just not in fact questioned, or in fact it is improper for the police even to question children or infants or babies, I would say even babies. I would rather apportion the entire blame on the principal and the teachers. They should have been more careful and advisory should have been given, and yes, a warning, and then after that, if there was an intent or a conspiracy to create a situation or an environment of dissent and foment social discontent, then of course it's a different game altogether. This investigation will tell. But the children are in no way connected with any such nefarious activities, if at all. I would say that police were required to question the principal, the management and the teachers and all those responsible for the play. Those who picked up the play, drafted the lines and put up this skit before the audience.
Okay, so then let me ask you this, Sudha Ramalingam, even if we were to actually, like we said that, okay, that the children need to be questioned, as Dr. Vikram Singh said, and like we've all been saying, that why drag the children into this? You know, it's bad enough that the sedition law, the use of it is anyway being questioned in a case like this. And really, everybody is calling for the even application of the law in the country. In this particular case, shouldn't children be spoken to in the presence of the parents? The children are being used to frame their own parents and teachers in a case that everybody is saying is a clear abuse of the sedition law. Is the police not behaving recklessly in Karnataka?
Definitely, as the police officer now itself said, there was also no necessity for bringing in the children and taking any evidence from them. And if they wanted to also, as rightly said, the CRPC, the Criminal Procedure Code, clearly says that the child can be examined only in his residence. That's one thing. And above all, what are we trying to establish in this? And why is there an arrest? Why are the children being tortured? Why are the children not not being sent to school for their studies during the school hours and asked to depose on these things. The state has actually lost its sense of proportion, and the police officers seem to be playing to their political bosses and nothing else. In the start of this program, you seem to have actually interviewed a police officer, the sitting police officer there, and he just says after 4 days of all these things that he'll look into this. What is he looking into this, and does he not have the sense of responsibility to immediately ensure that there is a real protection granted to the children in his jurisdiction, to the women in his jurisdiction, to all the citizens who are living within his jurisdiction? There seems to be an abdication of responsibility on the part of the state as such. The police seem to be insensitive to whatever the children's rights are, and they seem to be actually pushing things to a level where people will definitely have disaffection for the state. The state is now behaving in a manner in which it is a situation where it is worse than emergency. So what is happening today is children are also being alienated, and definitely this shows the desperation of the Prime Minister and his cohorts. If they are really confident enough that whatever they are doing is right, they would also face criticism. Dissent is something which has
for everything you want to bring the Prime Minister, madam.
Democracy will always include opposition.
Okay, Mr. Vivek Reddy, you would like to respond to that because
Prime Minister is doing ethical thing. Anant Kumar Hegde should be filed under
There's nothing
sedition
ethical
case.
about this Prime Minister.
Okay. One second. Okay, Mr. Gowda, 1 second. Mr. Gowda, please. Mr. Gowda, please, let's come back to the debate.
That you can't be mature enough.
Please, let's come back to the debate. Please. Vivek Reddy, you'd like to respond to that because several Supreme Court judgments have clarified that the serious charge of sedition, the last one actually came on Friday. They gave an observation on the 31st. They said it can be invoked only when an act leads to public disorder. That didn't even happen in this case. Mere criticism of the government or use of strong language against its functionaries cannot be construed as sedition, Mr. Reddy. These are young children. They're 9 years old.
Well, I don't think it is a strong language. No, Tanvi, I don't think it is a strong language against the government, first of all. Nor is it a pure criticism against the government. If somebody says take the slippers and hit the people who have drafted this law, or made to say that still, I think the persons who made to say it through the mouths of the children must be definitely brought to the book and brought to answer the law. Because that's not how one propagates education to children, number one. Second, it creates disaffection, ill will and hatred. And if it has the cumulative effect of creating that hatred, I think it falls within the line of sedition. Ultimately, it may not result in social disorder, but it may have a potentiality to result in social disorder. If it is permitted in one school, it will happen in several other schools. And all children will be made to ape and mimic and censure the government in the most cheapest terms possible, in the most obscene language possible. Do you think that is not creation of hate or ill will?
But then, Mr. Reddy, do you not think that, okay, then do you not think that perhaps you need to soften the blow? Teaching the children that a police team is going to come and disrupt your classes every day and speak to you for more than 5 times for an annual function, a school play that you did, that's not going to have any bearing on a child's mind. It's not going to cause them any kind of mental harassment or torture. You think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that? Even if children who are not even involved in that play are subjected to that on a daily basis. The police are going on the campus and talking to these children. We have visuals of that.
There is a crime.
Madam, I agree.
Kindly understand that there is a crime,
children should
and in the interest of the society it must be investigated.
But
and so long as the investigation is continued and it is in a proper manner, I don't think there is any cause for concern. But yes, Tanvi, I don't think there is any cause for concern. If the police have acted with excessive authority, certainly it is to be deprecated. I don't think that there is such excessive authority here, except what the media persons are saying. There has been no excessive use of authority. There has been no arbitrariness. The police have just merely collected the evidence and asked who is behind this. And there is nothing wrong. It is the minimum thing that they have to do in reporting an incident. So we need not, be so sensitive about this and say that this has resulted in affecting the children. Well, if such an incident is pointed out, surely the government has to correct itself.
All right, Mr. Gowda, go ahead.
Madam, okay, the children should not be used for all these things. I agree with that. But madam, the BJP should tell us, what about Mr. Anant Kumar Regde, who is sitting MP from Karnataka, North Karnataka, who made statement against Mahatma Gandhi. Act of Mahatma Gandhi, called it as a drama. Why go ahead and file a case, sedition case against your own MP who is making this kind of statements? Okay, forget about these children. They have made mistakes. Okay, we'll agree. They should not be utilized for. What about Mr. Anant Kumar Regde, who is your 5th time MP? What action will take against Mr. Anant Kumar Regde? You tell us, BJP, please come on and tell me.
What are you comparing?
Why you are not?
He has been asked to give an
I don't think,
he has been warned by the party. It has been very clearly said.
Okay, and that also that is a completely different.
This is too much of a comparison that you are
That is
trying to
a
make.
completely different issue. That is a completely different issue. One second. It's a completely different issue. No. It is a completely different issue. Yes, I can no. Yes, the BJP definitely, and any other party that decides to go ahead and slap cases of sedition, any party that goes and decides to slap cases of sedition have to introspect and also take the same action when it comes to their own MPs and leaders. Agreed. But you cannot correlate the same over here, Mr. Gowda. Dr. Singh, Mr. Vivek Reddy over here maintained that the police had not perhaps behaved excessively. But in your opinion, Mr. Gowda, please, I've given you your chance. Just a second, Mr. Gowda, please. Sorry, Mr. Gowda, it is not your turn to speak. I will come to you. Dr. Singh, has the police behaved excessively in this case? Is it fair to say the police has behaved excessively in this case? Because the Karnataka police over here now
if I were the police there, I would have made...
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, Sanjana, I would say that if I had been there, I would have drawn 2 compartments. One for the principal and the staff, and the other for the children. For the children, it would have been done under the provisions of the Juvenile Justice Act and the guidelines, the elaborate guidelines given, that should minimal interaction between the police and the infants. Because I, for one, would feel that it gives a lifelong trauma and a scar on the personality of the child if an indiscreet handling is done by the police. I do hope that the police have taken precautions there. But if what Mr. Reddy says is correct, that these were the words and this was the language that was taught to the children, I take the strongest exception to the fact that you are supposed to teach patriotism, you are supposed to teach nationalism, you are supposed to teach good manners and etiquette, not to behave in this manner. And therefore, if action has been taken against the principal, against the teachers who orchestrated this in the annual function, well, I would say law should take its own course. And my advice to political friends would be, especially to Mr. Owaisi, not to jump in and fish in troubled waters. Let the school and the children and the police abide by the rule of law and what the legacy of law tells us to do, that the government, the nation is supreme, and if you have any differences, there are legal channels to address your grievances and not to indulge in this kind of derisive fashion and use language that is offensive, repulsive, and within the ambit of legal action.
All right. Okay. So Dr. Singh, well taken. Let me actually now play out for our viewers the reaction of this class 6 student. Her mother was arrested. Her mother has been in jail. She has got the sedition case slapped on her. And I'm just going to play that out in just a moment. But it's also important over here to remember here, Sudha Ramalingam, that this girl has been without her mother. Her mother is single. She's a widow. This girl has been without her mother ever since this case came to light, ever since this case was actually registered. Her mother was arrested. Yet there has been no facility, there has been no authority who has come forward and taken care of this girl. What happens to a child like this whose parent is taken in, the girl has unknowingly turned her own mother in and is now forced to stay with the landlord's wife. She doesn't know where her parents are. Shouldn't the government or the police make amends for that? Any kind of arrangements for that?
Certainly.
I'm really shocked at this. Certainly the police is responsible, and that is the reason why when I was telling you there should be suo motu action taken by the Child Rights Committee. There is a State Women's Commission, the National Women's Commission, the State Human Rights Commission, the National Human Rights Commission, and the courts itself, the High Court of Karnataka or the Supreme Court would definitely have taken suo motu cognizance of what is happening there. The ground reality is that whatever was said and done, that particular drama, whatever was enacted, would not even have gone into the minds of any person as such. People would have forgotten what has happened if you have not been actually taking any such serious action against this. One. Secondly, even if the children have been misled, how are you going to really deal with it? Just arresting these the parents or the school authorities, would it actually serve any purpose? Are they really needed to be, is there a necessity for their arrest at all? Investigation could be done without arrest. Investigation could be done properly even without asking the children to depose. There are other means of getting to the truth. And if in case they are going to do anything, they'll have to first ensure that the children are safe and the child is put in a safer place, not simply thrown out without both parents, especially a widowed lady with only with a child. It's really atrocious. The child is going to suffer a trauma through the lifetime, throughout her lifetime. And who is going to answer for it? Her future is at risk. It is not just by teaching them some bad language or by having said something against the state or having made them say something against the state that the child would have suffered, because the child may not have even understood what was being spoken. But now, what is being done is something which is really atrocious, and I really feel that the Supreme Court or the High Court should immediately intervene in this issue and ensure that larger justice is done and the children are not going to suffer anymore, and these women also need not be in prison. Why do you arrest a person if you are sure that they will tamper with witnesses or they will abscond, that there'll be miscarriage of justice if the person is outside? No such thing is happening in this. This woman who is a widow, what would she do against the state? What would she do against all these witnesses? Nothing is going to happen. There is no necessity for arresting her. If there is going to be a case made out, you make out a case, get her a conviction. After that, let her be inside the jail if need be, but not at this stage. We will have to ensure that there is not going to be this sort of sudden provocations by on behalf of the state.
Okay, Mr. Reddy, before I come to you, I actually want to play that bite out, that reaction out from this young girl. She's all of 11 years old. She's only in the 6th standard. Her mother has been arrested and she's been living with her landlord's wife since. Let me play that out.
NRC का प्रोग्राम था, हम बुड्ढी के डायलॉग करे थे, फिर मोबाइल के ज़रिए पॉइंट्स बने थे और पुलिस वाले आए थे, पूछे ये प्रोग्राम कैसा बना, तो हम बोले मोबाइल, यूट्यूब, अखबार में से देख के बना। फिर बाद में इसको प्रैक्टिस कौन करेगा? प्रैक्टिस तो करने की ज़रूरत ही नहीं थी, पॉइंट्स याद करने का था। फिर बाद में इसको ड्रामा के ज़रिए बताने वाले कौन था? हम बोले एक ड्रामास बना देंगे NRC का, को बोले। फिर दूसरे बच्चे भी, मैं तो मौके बोले, उन लोगों भी मैसेज बेटे का, पड़ोसी का, वो ट्रोल ये करे। फिर उन लोगों भी पॉइंट्स लेके आए। फिर तुमको ये उन लोग सब काम मिलते थे, तुम लोग हमको बोले कैंटीन गन मिलते थे। फिर कैंटीन गन मिलते थे। सब ये ड्रामा कौन करके बताते थे, तो ड्रामा नहीं करते थे, घर से प्रैक्टिस करके आते थे। ये ड्रामा किसकी परमिशन से करे थे तुम? इंचार्ज की परमिशन से करे थे। क्लास टीचर को मालूम था? नहीं, क्लास टीचर को नहीं मालूम था, हम डायरेक्ट इंचार्ज कर गए थे। तो क्लास टीचर को मालूम ही होना पड़ता, नहीं तो ये कैसा डायरेक्ट इंचार्ज कर जाते। बोले तो हम भी शरारत करके इंचार्ज कर गलती से चले गए। इंचार्ज बोले हाँ देखेंगे, डायरेक्ट स्टेज पे आके करे थे हम ड्रामा। फिर बाद में नहीं तुम झूठ बोल रहे, तुमको कौन तो सिखाया? मेरे बोले नहीं हम अपने से करें, मेरे को तो डरा रहे थे, धमका रहे थे।
अब वो मम्मी आज से 3-4 दिन से आपसे छोड़ के बाहर दूसरी तरफ है, उसका याद आ रहा आपको? आ रहा याद आ रहा मम्मी का?
हाँ।
Mr. Vivek Reddy, that child is 11 years old. She is without her mother. Understandably, as she is narrating her ordeal, she's not even aware of what she's being taught. She's not even aware that this is anything but beyond an annual day function, a school function that she has put up in front of her classmates. The state government, the Karnataka police cannot be even a little careful or sensitive when it comes to this. Isn't this also part of making people feel safe in the country?
Well, Sanjana, your cameramen have taken her version. The police have also conducted investigations and they are taking their version. Ultimately, who reports to the magistrate on a crime under the Indian law? It is the police who report on the crime. Of course, we will have various opinions about the crime, and a victim or an accused has every right to defend herself and say that she has not done the crime. Nobody is saying that they are guilty today. But the point is, when a cognizable offence is committed, it has to be reported to the magistrate under the law of the land. I wonder, the previous panelist who was narrating so much about arrests, I'm really astonished, I'm shocked. The previous panelist is turning the law of the land upside down by saying that they should not arrest. Why are they arresting? Well, it is not for you to decide, ma'am. You are nobody to decide this. It is the magistrate who decides this. The magistrate decides this on the basis of the gravity of the situation. But when a cognizable offence is committed under the law of the land, the person is apprehended and brought before the magistrate. Why did we make that a rule of law? Why did we make that as a system of, or why did we make that as a code in our Indian system of administration of justice? That is because cognizable offences are treated on a different par with non-cognizable offences. And these persons are brought before the magistrates to be tried before the law. And they are arrested on the basis of the discretion of the magistrate. So, if this is the law, this is the code, then it has to be followed. Not because the previous panelist feels, no, they need not be arrested, no, they have a child. Well, all these are besides the point. The point is the gravity of the situation which governs this field and which governs the incident. And that is the only decider. So far as children are concerned, I think all of us have to have sensitivities about the children. I rely on what Mr. Vikram Singh says so clearly, that children should not be harassed. Let us also give in that. Should not be harassed. The police have to take extra care to ensure that children are treated very sensitively.
So that's exactly the question that we're raising today. That's exactly the question that we're raising today, Mr. Reddy.
Bring these issues?
That is the question that we're raising today. Because the question about the misuse, the question about the misuse of sedition, the question of the misuse of sedition has already been raised. The Karnataka government, let me tell you, the Karnataka government is walking on eggshells when it comes to the law of sedition. We have questioned the government about that. And there are panelists.
Except the media reports.
Yes, but you have also to consider that these are young children. These are young children. You cannot barge into on school premises every single day.
Dr.
Vikram Singh. So, okay, let me understand then. Let me understand from Dr. Vikram Singh. Dr. Vikram Singh, given what all you have before you, given all the evidence, would it be fair then to go and speak to students who are not even above the age of 11 every day, disrupt their classes? This young child is without her mother. As we can clearly see, she narrated her entire ordeal. What would you have done if you had this case? Isn't there a sensitive way to deal with this when there are children involved?
Absolutely, Sandra. The job of the investigator is to get to the bottom and get to the truth. And to get to the truth, you don't have necessarily to speak to infants and babies. You could get the truth out by speaking to the staff, to the class 4, to the other employees, the chowkidars and the watchmen and others who would have given you the truth, and that would have sufficed for the purposes of investigation. Interrogating and questioning the children by the police is a big no-no as far as I'm concerned. At least I have never interrogated any child in my career of 36 years. And there were never, although there were in any number of occasions, but if you are a thorough investigator, there are ways and means of getting to the truth without questioning the child. But sitting in Delhi, I should not be judgmental. I would say that the Karnataka police is very thorough, is very professional, and I hope they know what they are doing. I will give the example of Kanpur, where you would have understood that 23 children were held hostage, and after an encounter when the man was shot dead, his wife was lynched. His girl child of the deceased was adopted by the IG of Kanpur, Mohit Dubey, and I salute him because he had the sensitivity and he understood the gravity. What would this orphan girl child do? He has adopted this child for a lifetime. In this case, I would have been very satisfied and delighted if the police had made some arrangement for this child.
Right.
And police and the investigators have a lot of discretion at their hand. They could have staggered the arrest. They could have ensured that the child is looked after first and then the arrest could have happened. Well, that is allowed thinking. I wish this would have happened. It would made me very, very happy and satisfied and relieved.
Okay, so before I go, so then Sudha Ramalingam, in that case, isn't it then incumbent on any state government or incumbent on any police authority to actually ensure what Dr. Vikram Singh is saying? Because what Dr. Singh is saying is, of course, it is an ideal situation. And, you know, we're definitely questioning the application of sedition in this particular case, but we're also questioning whether the Karnataka police has taken it too far, because it appears that the police is not concerned by the repeated warnings that the Supreme Court has issued over the decades against the use of sedition laws. The court may have expressed its displeasure at terms such as sedition and anti-national being used loosely. That obviously has no bearing on the state government of Karnataka or even on the police. But now going further, isn't it then incumbent on the government and the police authority to make such arrangements for these kind of children?
Sanjana, I fully well agree with what Dr. Vikram Singh said. A sensitive police officer would have done only whatever he said. Having said that, I'm sorry, let me just finish it. No, please. Whatever Dr. Vikram Singh said was absolutely right. I would like to actually add certain thing and state about what the other speaker was talking. See, as far as cognizable offences are concerned, cognizable offences are the offences which actually allow for anticipatory bail also. So it is, if it is a non-cognizable offence, you can get a bail in the station itself, in the police station. It is in the cognizable offences that you can get, you are entitled to even anticipatory bail. One. Secondly, the duty of the magistrate is not to blindly remand any person. The magistrate will also can actually use his or her discretion. That these are different things which you all have to talk about. When there is a child involved in this, taking extra caution to ensure that the child is comfortable, the child is not disturbed, the child is actually in her protective home itself will have to be ensured by the police before taking any other action. This is a case where definitely these people who are accused of the crime are not going to run away. That is not the case of the police itself. Right. That's the reason why I speak about granting bail and not jail to them. If they are convicted, let them go and actually be convicted and suffer a punishment. If they have committed a crime, all that I'm talking about is ensure safety of these girls, these children, and see that there is no unnecessary arrest. The state's exchequer is also heavily burdened because of this. It is definitely unnecessary work which is being done, and this very clearly shows that the police has not got away from its colonial mindset.
All right, sedition law and whether it's been grossly misused and whether the application of the law actually needs to be even. And this is just not just judging from the state of Karnataka, but the country over. Thank you so much to my panel for joining us this evening. The Karnataka police really perhaps needing to self-introspect and check whether their actions are excessive. These are young children that we're talking about, not even the age of 10. Thank you so much to my viewers for joining us this evening on The Last Word.